Yes, once more in the street, good friends. Once more in the street. This is the BBC. Do not adjust your... No, this is RTE. What am I talking about? This is not the British Broadcasting Corporation. This is Radio Television Éireann Mythical Ireland style, otherwise known as the Mythflix channel. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Mythical Ireland Library for episode number 245 of Live Irish Myths. Tonight we are back with P.W. Joyce's A Social History of Ancient Ireland, and we'll be talking about weapons. I know, stay tuned. If you're watching, you'll be watching either on the Mythical Ireland Facebook page or on the Mythical Ireland YouTube channel. Thank you for joining us. If you're on YouTube, please do subscribe to the channel. Ring the little notification bell so that you get notifications when we go live or when indeed a new video is uploaded. And if you're here, please do say hello in the chat, because we love to see all the chat that goes on between people. And of course, we say hello back. And first, to say hello tonight, without any surprise, is Elaine Dent-Lingenfelter, who's in Texas. And she's saying 32 Celsius is a temperature where she can finally breathe. I mean, we don't, I don't know if I've ever experienced 32 in Ireland. I know the highest temperature ever was 33. So, wow. And it's winter's coming here. The days are getting shorter. They're really drawing in. Sotonar says, Trinonoa, Nadina Bra, August Tufain, Trinonoa. Hang on, I just need to silence this phone. We do not want interruptions during the live stream. Sandra Boothroyd is in the house. Evening, everyone, sit back and relax for another exciting evening. Well, do you know what? I'm glad, Sandra, that you find it exciting and not totally boring. Yes, very good. And do relax. Absolutely. That's the idea. Lie back in your lounger, pina colada in the hand and all that stuff. Masseur doing his or her thing, And I know. Okay, and a bowl of caviar. Why not? While you're at it. Anna L is saying good evening. Good evening to you, Anna L. Thank you for joining us. Hope you're keeping well. John Wilson is in Dallas, Texas. Looking forward to today's show. We're glad to have you. Good afternoon to you, John. And I believe it's in the high 80s over there. Rowan Grove is in Colorado. Rowan, a great pleasure. We'll be talking to you soon. I think that's in my calendar. I think I saw that today while I was scooting through the month. Did I? Or is that next month? No, it is this month. Yes, indeed. Rowan, good to see you. Hope you're in good form. I'd love to send you some warm temps, about 10 degrees. Yeah, that'd be the day. Conasata the law. Koa. Sotanar Damien Kelly is in the house. Good evening, good evening to you. Damien, I presume you're perhaps in Ireland. If you're saying good evening, you're certainly not in the States. Damien, where are you? And thank you for joining us. Nicole Went, or is it Vent? I don't know how to say that. Is in Hamburg. A very good evening to you, Nicole. Thank you for joining us here on Live Irish Myths. Delighted to see you, and also to Damien. Samantha Healy is here from sunny Montpellier in southern France. Wow, very nice. What's the wine like? That's all I want to know. I'm joking, of course. Samantha, bonsoir. Susan Scott is walking in a favourite place. Talked now. I always make those spelling mistakes. I can't type on a phone. Right now. I'll be with you a bit later. I needed to be with the trees right now. That's perfectly understandable. Give them a big hug from all of us. Barb Jordan is in the house. Hello, Barb. Good evening. Good afternoon. Welcome, welcome. Teresa Collins. August Tronwa Tufain, Teresa. Hope life is treating you well. Maureen Joyce is in Lexington in Kentucky, where it's a warm, sunny day. Brilliant stuff. Delighted to hear that, Maureen. Hope you're enjoying it. Ooh, sharp things. Sue Prenter's in the house. Always a lovely way to start the week. Yeah, Mondays just aren't so bad anymore, are they? Janet Walsh is in Minnesota in the USA. Good afternoon to you, Janet. Thank you for joining us here on Live Irish Myths. You're very welcome. Gavin O'Flaherty, the Cove Gooner, is in the chat. Hello, Gavin. Good evening to you. Brendan Byrne is among friends again. If my father's folklore is correct, it's going to be a hard winter. Berries everywhere. Yeah, it's a particularly productive time, isn't it? For the blackberries are all over the place. Yeah, some of my tour guests this week have been feasting themselves in the hedgerows. Helen Hirsch Chader is in the house. Greetings to all the tour from the foggy Black Hills of South Dakota. Ah, fog. Sounds very Irish, Helen, but it's not too long since you were here. And hope you're in good form. Archaeoastronomy Database is saying, good to be here without out of the cold as the days grow shorter. Yeah, I don't fully understand that, but I think I know what you're getting at. And yeah, the sun is racing down the horizon now after the equinox, as it does at this time of year, and will start to slow down at Samhain as we run into the winter. Sure, look, it had to come eventually, didn't it? Nora Gaffney O'Connor is in the house. Giav Goler Macharja, Cain Coin Wilshiv, Iantach Avet Ancho, Ilar Antua. Well, I'm glad that you are excellent in the middle of the Tua. Nora, I don't think we've seen you for a bit, so you are extremely welcome. Hope you've been in good form. Hope you've been swimming in the sea and, getting refreshed by all of that. Tom King is in the house. On Gawa. Hello there, Anthony, and the mighty Tua. Oh, there's a nip in the air. A good fire going and working away. Enjoy story time. Yes. Tom, you have the luxury of always having a fire going, but the opposite of that is that you're always outside, which sometimes can be, I'm sure, is quite beautiful. But sometimes you must say to yourself, do you know, I could maybe just retire to the design lab, and do some indoors work for a night, Adina Sparks is in the house. Hello to you. Afternoon, Anthony, and all the windy day out. Perfect weather to be inside with Mythical Ireland. I can't argue with that, Adina. Good afternoon to you. Josie Weatherford is in Dublin. Josie, I saw an email from you before I began, so I will respond to that later. And I think you're in luck. So if you don't hear from me tonight, just give me a nudge, will you? I'm terrible sometimes at responding to emails, just simply because there's so much correspondence. Rex Fortenberry is saying, greetings, folks. Fresh back from mountain hiking in the Pacific Northwest. Not too many mountains in Louisiana. Tallest one is Mount Driscoll, 535 feet, and ready for Mythflix. Wow. So Louisiana sounds like the sort of place that is very Irish, because we call things mountains, and the Swiss laugh at us. Monica Regley goes, that's not a mountain. That's a baby mountain. Rex, hope you enjoyed yourself in the PNW and you're hiking. Good to hear that you're home safe and well. Mark Gordon says, good day from Iowa. Harvest season is upon us. A big thank you to all farmers. Yes, indeed. Our harvest is pretty much ended. The only thing that I could see that hadn't been harvested up until a few days ago was corn or maize. Everything else has been harvested at this stage. So it's kind of late to see harvesting going on now. But anyway, all good. John Inman. I've been busy like the bees, says Nora. Sure, look, that's life, isn't it? John Inman is in Eureka, California. Sunny and blithe and winsome. We have brambles too, but not enough rain and poultry. Okay, so not so rich a harvest of blackberries. Caitlin Moon is in Dublin Fields. Very spooky today. Why does it feel spooky? Is that because we're into October and we're into, the countdown to Samhain? Next stop, of course, in the old calendar is Samhain, which will be the early in November, the first week of November. I wish your gods would send us rain, says John Inman. Well, perhaps we will together wish for that and ask for you to get some wetting. Yeah, I made it, says Michael Pike. Greetings, Anthony, all the two. Good afternoon, Michael. You're very, very welcome. Good to see you. Yes, Nora is telling Brendan that life gets in the way sometimes, but all roads lead to Anthony's library. Cozy library, actually, she says. Cozy. Yes, indeed. Who am I missing? Did I miss anyone? Anne McCallum is in the house. Yay! Hello, Anton, and all the mighty too. I hope everyone's well. We're enjoying a lovely war. Strange. I suspect there's a little bit of spelling or predictive text going on there. 26 Celsius with gorgeous sunshine. Seems summer has returned to southwestern Ontario for the moment. 26. Wow. Wi-Fi acting up. Have to use the phone, but glad to be here for another live story time. Well, we are glad that you're here despite the technological difficulties, and a very good afternoon to you. Send a few of those degrees over this way. Deborah Gilbert is in Connecticut. Finally sunny, but we were spared of the rain in New York City and its near biblical floods. Yes, saw that. Wow. Yeah, I know. Scary stuff. Adele Perth has joined us. Glad to be up early enough to catch a live. Adele is in Australia. Adele, what time of the day is it there? It has to be, as I always say, ridiculous o'clock. It's always a joy to see you. A pleasure to have the other hemisphere represented. Well, it depends on whether you call it the Eastern Hemisphere or the Southern or both, you know. And of course, you're in Tuesday already, so happy Tuesday to you. Desiree Riley is so happy to catch everyone in the live stream. My boss just messaged me that they're running behind and won't need me for at least 2 hours instead of in 30 minutes. Me and Amadeus have missed you all so much, as we have you. Yes, indeed. And it's great to see you. 5:40 a.m. Will you go back to bed, will you? I know, sure. Look, if you're up now, sure. Now, you see, what would happen now is if you tried to get back to sleep now, you'd suffer from FOMO, feeling of missing out, you know. You wouldn't be able to get back to sleep. You'd be like, oh, I have to listen in to see what Anthony's talking about now. A rattle of the poker and the sparks fly to the heavens. There you go, Nora. Yes, indeed. Oh, good. We're caught up. I hope that you all, and just in case you didn't, so Burr Whelan is saying, sorry, on holidays in Gran Canaria. Wish you were here, lol. Yeah. So why didn't you invite me? We could do a live stream from Gran. I'd be perfectly happy to do the live stream from the Canaries. No problem at all. But anyway, it's good that you took the time to come on and say that, you know. Okay, now, so before we start, just one announcement, I think. And you know yourself, that could turn into 2 or 3, but definitely one, which is, in case you hadn't seen it, because I know the way Facebook suppresses these things, the 2024 Mythical Ireland calendar is now available for pre-order. I'm just finalising it, proofreading it. It'll be going to print in the next week. And all pre-orders will be hopefully dispatched in the 2nd to 3rd week of October, all going well. I'm going to send you the link to where you can order it. Slightly different format this year, as I was discussing previously. It's an A4 opening to A3. So the previous calendar was just A3 leaves. Now it's A4 opening to A3. And the A4, of course, means it's more compact for posting and is less likely to get damaged, as some of the A3 calendars did, especially the ones that went across the ocean, you know. Michael Pike's in the Boyne River Valley on the 7th of November. Hope to meet up with and Tom King. With, I presume that's me. Yes. Had we finalised? No. Yeah. Send me an email about that, Michael. And Michael Trott is in New Zealand. Recovery from the flight, though, caught a spot of COVID in Dublin. Better now. Oh God, yeah. I know it's been quite rampant here lately. As a few of us had it here in the house about 6 or 8 weeks ago. A lot of people have caught it since then. But glad to hear you got home safely, Michael, and happy Tuesday from us to you, of course. Thank you for saying hello. Barbara Murphy is in Tucson, Arizona, where it's nice and sunny. Brilliant stuff. Good afternoon, Barbara. Ooh, just received a book made by Past Book. You're all suffering from, I don't know what's going on tonight, technology issues and predictive text. I can't make head nor tail of some of your comments. Just received a book made by Past Book. It's my 2019 Ireland trip. And guess who 2 stars are featured? 2019. I don't know. Because that was before we knew you. Matt Levy and Michael D. O'Higgins. I don't know. Elaine, tell us more, please, and try to correct the spellings as well. I'm joking, of course. I'm only trying to wind you up. Oh, Adele has been awake for an hour. Goodness me. Wow. Fair play. That's all I can say. I mean, I need me 7 or 8 hours. And if I don't get them, don't function, No, 2022, sorry. Yes. So I wonder, would that be Tom King and myself? I'm not sure that you'd call us stars quite now, to be honest. It isn't autocorrect. We've been pre-gaming without you. Okay. Helen Gill is in Northern Ireland. Hey, hello there, Helen. Good evening to you. Thanks for joining us on Live Irish Myths. A great pleasure to welcome you to the library, where we are about to start reading about, well, soon we'll be reading about weaponry, but I just had to finish the previous section, which is about knighthood. Yes, in Ireland, knighthood, apparently. Then we'll be talking about weapons. So we're picking up where we left off last year. Oh, shucks. Thanks, Elaine. Yeah. Look, you're very good. And yeah, sure, look, such an honor and a pleasure to have met so many of the two now. In 2020, when I was live streaming every day, we hadn't a clue when that might ever happen, if ever. And it's been such an enormous pleasure and so constantly meeting over the time. I feel like I've gone a month without my family. Oh, that's lovely. But we're a bit of a weird family, let's be honest, I'm not speaking on everybody's behalf. I'm definitely speaking about myself. Well, I'm still in my bed scrolling, and your live popped up. I can't go back to sleep. Exactly. That's what I was saying. Brilliant stuff, Adele. I've missed too many lately as well, says Rowan. Well, the Northern Hemisphereers are heading into the winter, so I suspect that viewership will increase. Viewership will increase. Well, maybe it'll decrease. Maybe people are fed up of it. This is 245 episodes after all. It's like, how much more can we possibly cram in about Irish mythology? How many more episodes are there? Well, I know what we're going to do. When we exhaust all the material, we're going to go all the way back to the start and go again. Unique, Anthony. Unique, not weird, says Sue. Yeah. Unique. That's it. Exactly. Yes. Thank you for correcting me on that one. Very timely intervention there. Tom King, don't you start. Nora is bad enough. What's going on here? Maybe I shouldn't ask. Stay out of it, Anthony. Stay out of the comments now. Concentrate on the reading. So this is knighthood. Is this little section is called as far back. Are we all ready? As far back as our oldest traditions reach, there existed in Ireland an institution of knighthood. The Red Branch Knights have already been mentioned, and it appears that admission to their ranks was attended with much formality. It was usual to knight boys at an early age, commonly at 7 years. Wow. This was the age, according to the statement of Tirnach, and also of the Tales, at which the young hero Cuchulainn was admitted, and his example as to age was often followed in subsequent times. The old tale in which this episode of Cuchulainn occurs states that King Conchobar, or Conor MacNessa, had a number of suits of arms ready to present to boys whom he admitted to knighthood. Valerie Gallagher, just by the skin of your teeth, in the door just as we start reading the first paragraph. Good evening to you, good afternoon. You're very welcome. Good. Yes, indeed. He gave them on this occasion, one after another, to Cuchulainn, who broke them all. Till at last the king gave him his own royal shield, sword, and spears, which the boy kept as they withstood his efforts to break them. A confirmation of the existence of this custom is found in the life of Saint Carthach, or Mochuda of Lismore, where we are told that when he was yet a boy, he was brought forward to receive knighthood from Maeltulle, chief of Corco in Kerry. The king began, after the ancient fashion, by presenting him with a sword and shield, which, however, Carthach rejected, being resolved to follow a religious life. The remarkable confirmation of the Irish accounts by Froissart will be found mentioned in chapter XIV, Sect 2 Infra. This historian, moreover, states that the custom of knighting boys at 7, with ceremonies like those of the Irish, existed among the Anglo-Saxon kings. There you go. Oh, come here. Now listen, just to say, I just want to make it clear that I am not paying Desiree Riley to say the things that she is saying. She is not on some sort of mysterious retainer or backhander. There are no brown envelopes passing between here and there. But that is such a lovely comment. Well, it's so good to have you back. And sure, soon enough, don't you know, Coda will probably bark his head off, and Amadeus will be like, ah, brilliant, yay. Um, did Christian teaching not also pick the age of 7 as the age of becoming? Not sure. It seems very young, doesn't it? Really very young. Mark Gordon wants to know, was it a full size shield and sword or a kid size? You mean the one Crahor gave him? I presume it was full size because King Connor was an adult. But it doesn't, I'm not sure that it says. Caitlin Moon learned that in Scandinavia, people who earn a PhD get a sword with their PhD. I think we need to appropriate this in Ireland. I couldn't agree more. Speaking of which, give me a nudge tomorrow, Caitlin, will you? Um, yes, give me a reminder. The usual Irish words for a knight are a curra, Curadh, and ridere, Ridire, of which the last is, of course, the same as the German Ritter and is probably borrowed. Assuming knighthood is commonly expressed in Irish by taking valour. Thus, Tiernach's record about the knighting of Cuchulainn is, quote, 7 years was his age when he took valour, unquote. The Gau Goshged. Fascinating stuff. There's Coda now. Yeah, and right on time. Do you hear that, Amadeus? He's saying hello. He's acknowledging all your kind comments. J.A. Burrow has a great books. Explain. We're having great fun in the comments tonight. As a great book explaining the age of becoming, etc. The Ages of Man, a study in medieval writing and thought. Sounds interesting. Don't have it. I need to get it. So that's another one for the library. But the rule of the 7 years was not universally or even generally followed, except perhaps in the case of the sons of kings or great nobles. The ceremony was commonly put off till the candidate was able to fight, as appears from the following entry in the Cor Anvan. This was a custom, this is a quote, this was a custom of the Ullad. Every young son of theirs who first took arms, i.e., took valour, used to enter the province of Connacht on a foray, or to seek to slay a human being. Wow. They had them murdering at 7 years of age. Crikey. Can you imagine? Jesus. Jesus, I tell you. Huh? Oh my god, Amadeus is so excited. His tail isn't just wagging, his whole butt is. Brilliant. Yeah, he finally made himself known, didn't he? Yes. Brendan, I don't know what exact conversation. I'm not following exactly, but this is seems to be funny. My royal upbringing demands I remain silent, says Brendan. Sotonar says the existence of the knighting ceremony in both the Irish and Anglo-Saxon cultures suggests that in both cases it is an inheritance from the root. But where is the root is the question. Aha, sorry. And here's the rest of the sentence. The root Indo-European / Scythian / Aryan, etc. They have a lot of names spread wherein it was likely much the same. Yeah, and we were a while back. We were reading from the Golden Bough, wasn't it? And we were reading about kingship customs in other countries, where kings could be killed and even suffocated. You know, buried alive. I mean, God, here we have kids that are sent out to try and murder somebody at 7. So don't romanticize about ancient or medieval Ireland, folks. It wasn't all that romantic, really. You know, think of Game of Thrones. You know, and like you're probably not too far off the mark. Helen Gill is saying we're heading to Dundalk on Saturday to see where Cuchulainn lived. We mentioned that last week or the week before. Yeah, Dundalgan, the original, Cuchulainn's home, the castle moat of Castletown. And the stone where he was killed, Rathidi. Can't wait. Cluck far more. Well, enjoy that, Helen. Please do remember to take some photographs and share them on the Mythical Ireland community. If you're not a member of that, get over there and get yourself added, and feel free to share a post and some pictures and descriptions and, you know, how you enjoyed it. Just going to share that just in case you're not already on there. 322 Messenger says the younger the better when mind controlling, especially between the ages of 7 to 11. Well, of course, you know, wow, 7. Like, here you go. Here's a sword. Go out and kill someone. But Dad, I'm only 7. And what's your point? There was an order of chivalry, the distinguishing mark of which was what was called naskniad, which means a champion's ring or collar. Nia genitive niad, a trainer or champion, train fair. I'm going to sneeze. Excuse me. At least I gave you a warning, and at least you're not in the same room. Neither. Am I in the right place? Neither the order nor the course of decoration was conferred, except it was won on the field of battle. And the person who won was the naskniad. Sorry, the person who won the naskniad was called Neonask, champion of the collar, like the English Knight of the Garter, and also Ridere Gashke, the Knight of Valor. This collar, according to Keating, was worn around the neck. That's from Keating's translation of the Book of Rights. Now, pardon me for a second. I have just wonder. I'm just wondering. I'm just curious. I have Laura Nagyart. I wonder whether it's the Keating translation that I have. No, Laura Nagyart. Oh no, that's translated by Miles Dillon. So no, that's not the one. That is not the one. And we reach the section that is called Arms, Offensive and Defensive. Handstone. Yeah, Keating is a bit fanciful and is heavily influenced by Arthurian romance. Thank you for that, Desira. Irish Technical Thinker has arrived in the house, in the library. Good evening to you, Marcus. Hope you're in good form. Bear with me a moment. Just taking a note of that, Caitlin. Pardon me, I have started to get a runny nose. Tuesday Thompson, happy Mythology Monday. Yes, indeed, and many happy returns. Among the missive weapons of the ancient Irish was the hand stone, which was kept ready for use in the hollow of the shield and flung from the hand when the occasion came for using it. The handstone is very often mentioned in the ancient tales, but so mixed up with pure fable that we can be certain of little more than this. Now, I'm wondering, does this describe those spherical stone balls that are found with Neolithic burials? You know, does it go all the way back to then, or is that something else? We'll find out, I think. Pardon me. Yes, excuse me for the distraction. So we can be certain of little more than this. Some such stone was in use, which was not a mere pebble picked up by accident, but was specially made, sometimes round, crin, Cruinn, and sometimes oblong and shaped with blunt angles and edges. Just taking another note here. To stones so prepared and kept for use on special occasions, some sort of malign mystical quality was often attributed, which rendered them very dangerous to the enemy. The handstone was called by various names, cloch and its diminutive clochin, which means stone, simply. Lea, lek, or lecken, which convey the idea of a stone somewhat flattened in shape. Lea loive, the hand stone, love, genitive loive, the hand, pronounced love, or yes. Lea love loch, headstone of the lake or champion. Sorry, handstone. Read it properly, Anthony. And then you're talking about the funny things going on in the comments tonight, and I can't even read properly. Lea loive loch, handstone of the lake or champion. Or Lea Cora, a hero's flat stone. So there you go. Seth Bain is in the house. Haven't been able to catch an episode in a couple of months, but it's always a delight. Could you maybe discuss / read the Siege of Knock Long sometime? It seems to give an insight into the political relationships and also the practices of the Druids, at least in the popular belief. Moyruth actually had a handstone that features in the story. Wow, yeah, absolutely. Where would I get that? Where would I read that? What work would I get that in? Oh, by the way, Auntie Joe Butler sends her apologies. She's not able to attend this evening, so apologies for that. And hello to you, Joe, because she'll be watching the rerun. And if somebody could be so kind as to share the stream to the Mythical Ireland community and Mythical Ireland Creative, that would be great. We want you in good health for the season ahead, says Beth. Yes, we certainly don't want anybody throwing handstones at you. The use of ordinary stones in battle, not specially made, is often noticed in the ancient tales. Giraldus Cambrensis says that the Irish of his time, the 12th century, when other weapons failed them, flung stones with more force and precision than any other nation, so as to do great execution on the enemy. A statement curiously exemplified at the Siege of Limerick, 500 years after his time, when a band of 400 of the defenders flung stones in the faces of the Williamite assailants, having no better weapons. Wow. Yes, that would be nice, Seth. Thank you for that. Please do. Sounds very Irish, making their own stones. Yeah, which came just before making their own whiskey. I was wondering where Joe was. About to message her, says Desiree. Yeah, she posted a comment saying earlier that she wouldn't be able to make it this evening, so she'll watch the rerun. Sling and sling stones. A much more effective instrument for stone throwing was the sling, which is constantly mentioned in the Tales of the Táin, as well as in Cormac's glossary and other authorities, in such a way as to show that it formed an important item in the offensive arms of a warrior. The accounts in the old writings of the dexterity and fatal precision with which Cuchulainn and other heroes flung their sling stones remind us of the scriptural record of the 700 chosen warriors of Gibeah, who would fight with left and right hand alike, and who flung their sling stones with such aim, quote, that they could hit even a hair and not miss by the stones going on either side. Unquoted. The Judges XX16. Yes. One of the Irish names for a sling was Talim or Telium. Tailm or Teilm, which is fancifully explained in Cormac's glossary as a contraction of tel uim, from tel, a stroke, and fuim, a sound, i.e., the stroke and the sound of the tolls or thongs, from which we see that the telim had two thongs, as in two prongs. Yes, as in like a catapult, I presume. Another name for this sort of sling was tobble, Taball. I'm just wondering whether there's lenition there, whether it should be tobble, but I'll pronounce it tobble for now. And we find telim and tobble used in a passage of the Táin for the same individual sling. There was another sort of sling called cron tobble, or wood sling, or staff sling, from cron, a tree or a staff or a piece of wood of any kind, which indicates that the sling so designated was formed of a long staff of wood with one or two thongs, like the slings we read of as used by many other ancient nations. David killed Goliath with a staff sling. As this was called cron tobble on account, now he's definitely using the lenition, so it's definitely V, pronounced V in this case. As this was called cron tobble on account of having a cran or staff, perhaps we may infer that the simple tobble or telim had no staff, and that it consisted of two thongs attached to a piece of leather at bottom to hold the stone or other missile, a form of sling which was common all over the world and which continues to be used by boys to this day. Of course, this was 1903. Thank you, Caitlin, for that information, for which I am grateful. Yay, thanks, Desiree. Shared to the Mythical Ireland community in Joe's honour. But of course, says Nora, all this talk of throwing stones immediately brings to mind Monty Python. I'll have a rock and a bag of pebbles. Life of Brian, yeah. Yeah. Throwing stones were basically the first form of a firearm. Yes, indeed. Hello, Anthony. Are you live on Facebook? Says Wayne. Yes, indeed. Not on the community. Oh, we are now, of course, because Desiree just shared it, but on the main Mythical Ireland page. But yes is the answer, Wayne, and good to see you. There was a kind of staff sling called a gel clish, literally feet rod, from gel, D-E-I-L, a rod, and clish, genitive of cles, C-L-E-S, a feet. And this, it would appear, was in some way different from the cron tobble. Still, another name for a sling is trochel, T-R-O-C-H-A-L, whence comes the verb trochelim, I sling. Those who carried a sling kept a supply of round stones, sometimes artificially formed. In the Battle of Muckrive, we are told, was that the one we were being asked to? Sorry, I can't remember. Seth was asking us about earlier. No, that's the Siege of Knocklong. Okay. In the Battle of Muckrive, as we are told, the shields resounded with the hammering of swords and of stones. Burniv, B-U-I-R-N-I-B-H, the stones flung from slings. Numerous sling stones have been found from time to time, many perfectly round in rats and crannogs, some the size of a small plum, some as large as an orange, of which many specimens are preserved in museums. So they would be similar to what I'm talking about, but medieval rather than Stone Age. Stone Age, you get it? Never mind. Continue on, Anthony, and shut up. Native Americans used similar slings, I believe, says Marcus. Isn't that word very similar to throttle? Thruckle. I'll truckle you. Interesting. Yes, Donna Firrer is scooting in. Hello, everyone. So glad to be in person. Feels like it's been forever. Donna, you're very, very welcome to Live Irish Myths. It is always a pleasure to welcome you into the library. Josie says, sounds like an atlatl. Atlatl? Wow. Talk about a pronunciation conundrum. Mexico, spear throwing. Yes, indeed. Interesting stuff. A stone for a sling is often called lich talive, i.e., the stone of the Taliv. Some sling missiles, Taliv, I'm saying Taliv now, and it's Talim. I think it's Talim. Some sling missiles were specially made and kept for use on important occasions, and to these were attributed mystic virtues similar to those of the specially made handstones. Some were composition balls made of various materials and hardened. We are getting to the tatlum, folks. A ball of this kind was often called a cairclish, a feat ball from cair, C-A-E-R, a mass or ball, as if it was expected to perform some special wonderful feats. And it was also called ubal clish or feet apple. Ubal, U-B-A-L-L, an apple, any small globular mass. So that would be pronounced ool, U-B-H-A-L-L. And of course, today we call an apple an ool. Not spelt the same, but similar pronunciation. There's the first dad joke. Hooray, says Nora. Erica Rivertree is in the house. Good afternoon and welcome to you, Erica. Bannockty, Louisville, Kentucky. Kentucky in the house. If we are to believe the romantic tales, some of these sling balls were made up in an extraordinary and elaborate way, which imparted to them a malign, destructive quality. One called the Tathlum, made by the Daedanans. Now, some of you, if you're a little bit sensitive, well, actually, do you know what? If you're a little bit sensitive, you wouldn't still be here after 245 episodes. What am I saying? I was going to say, if you're a little bit sensitive, cover your ears. It's like, if I haven't scared you out of here by now, you're well used to it. One called the Tathlum, made by the Daedanans, was composed of the blood of toads, bears, and vipers, mixed up with sea sand and hardened. And it is stated that with a ball of this kind, Lua of the long arms slew Balor of the mighty blows, flinging it from his sling with such force that it went clean through Balor's eye and brain. And of course, that is from Cot Moitura, the second battle of Moitura. According to the tales, the Knights of the Red Branch sometimes made their sling missiles in a barbarous and revolting manner. In the historic tale of the death of King Conor MacNessa in the Book of Leinster, we read, quote, "It was a custom with the Ultonians at that time, every champion they killed in single combat, to take the brains out of their heads and mix lime with them until they were formed into hard balls." Unquote. And these balls they kept both as trophies and as dangerous weapons to be used on special occasions. This custom is noticed in connection with the Red Branch Knights, but, so far as I'm aware, in no other part of Irish history or tradition. It was a brain ball of this kind that Keth MacMagach flung at King Conor or Conchobar, so that it sank into his skull, of which he died 7 years afterwards. It would be hazardous and unphilosophical to brush aside these legends bodily as pure and simple fable. It seems pretty certain that hardened composition balls were made for slings and kept for important occasions, and we have such a ball in the National Museum in Dublin, perfectly globular and curiously streaked, not on the surface merely, but also through its mass. Wow. And then we get on to bow and arrow. Marcus says 7 years later, what a headache. Yes, indeed. He was so. The story, of course, which was written by a monk, remember. I have no idea what happened there. I do apologize. I touched something. The story, which was written by a monk, was that Conor had heard of the death and crucifixion of Christ and was so enraged that he went out into a forest, wasn't it? And he was swinging his weapons around, really upset. that a loose wire or what? Anyway, he was upset about the death of Christ, and he was so enraged that the ball fell out of his brain and he dropped dead. And now for something completely different. They were atlatls in Mexico used by Nahuatl. The Spanish explorers thought they were a new invention, but actually they'd been used in Europe but gone out of favour, so they're unknown by that era. Fascinating stuff. Fascinating. Sorry you missed my earlier post, but I just wanted to welcome everyone. That's Anne Scott Doherty. Hello, Anne. Welcome. Henry Macaulay. Hello, Ahila Henry, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome, welcome. Kathy May Deo has joined us on her lunch break, was picking some rose hips, now here to visit all and learn more. Brilliant stuff. Good evening to all the newcomers, latecomers, all comers. And there's no such thing as being late in Irish Live Irish Myths, because even after it's live, it's available to watch again. Bow and arrow. One of the Irish names of a bow was Fidboc, Fivok, a native word signifying wood bend. Wow. From Fid, wood, and bach, a bend, or fidbach. Is it fidbach or fivach? Yeah. Be helpful if he gave the pronunciation guide as well, wouldn't it? Another name was boa, Bogha, which, however, is a Teutonic loanword, the same as the English bow. Wow. The Irish used only the longbow. In a late authority, the picture of Irish soldiers by Albert Dürer in 1521. Imagine we're calling 1521 late. One of the soldiers has a longbow 4 feet in length, but no crossbow appears in the group. The general length of the Irish bow, as we find it represented on the high crosses, was from 4 to 5 feet. An arrow was called sagitt, Saiget. Now, I'm nearly sure that's a Latin loanword, sagitta. Anyway, sagitt, pronounced sayet, because the G is lenited, Saighet, pronounced sayet or sayed. Probably a loan word from Latin, sagitta. Anthony, why don't you just read the damn thing and stop interjecting? Stop always trying to be the flippin' clever clogs. Just read the damn thing. Yeah, that's where we get arrow, says Caitlin. Yeah. Because I remember reading that about Bridget in Cormac's glossary. Brohyatt was how he said Bridget's name was formed. Fiery arrow, leading some scholars to say no, that's a total linguistic invention, or at least there's some question as to how Cormac had arrived at some of his explanations for words. And exactly, Sagittarius, the archer. Yes, indeed. In the story of the Battle of Rosnaree, 1st century, in the Book of Leinster, the use of the bow and arrow is noticed more than once. But it is curious that in the historical tale of the Battle of Moyrath, fought in AD 637, bows and arrows are not mentioned at all, though the details of the battle are given and other weapons are named. A quiver was Sayet Bulg, i.e., arrow bag. In the story of the Táin in the Book of the Dun Cow, the Sayet Bulg is mentioned as among Cuchulain's arms. And in the second Battle of Moytura, one of the noises was, quote, the rattling and the jingling of the Sayet Bulg. Spelt differently, of course, here, but I'm just going to call it the Sayet Bulks or quivers, unquote. O'Curry translate Sayet Bulk in this passage by belly dart, and his editor, Dr. W.K. Sullivan, thinks it means a bow, but it evidently means a quiver, and so Dr. Stokes translates it. That this is the meaning appears plain from many passages. For instance, in the Irish version of part of the Aeneid, it is stated that on one occasion, Aeneas, we asked about this before, and I asked about this before, how to pronounce Aeneas, we'll call him. Seeing a herd of deer, took his bow and his Sayed Bulg and killed a number of them. if you're looking for the source on that, it is Zeitschrift für Keltische Philologie 428-429. And it doesn't actually say which volume of Zeitschrift. So, presumably that was the first volume, maybe. Yes. In later documents, especially the annals, there are plenty of contemporary notices of bows and arrows, to which it would be sufficient here to give some references. Flint arrowheads are constantly found in every part of Ireland and may be seen in vast numbers in the National Museum, which points to the use of the bow in prehistoric times. In the same museum are numerous arrowheads of bronze, also very ancient, but probably less so in general than those of flint. Those of bronze are usually made with a hollow crow or socket into which the wood was inserted. One general assertion may be made with regard to the sling, the bow and arrow, and the axe. A careful study of the tales would lead to the conclusion that, though these arms were pretty generally used, it was rather by individuals than by armies. In other words, though individuals and sometimes small bodies of men used one or all, probably according to taste or inclination, neither of the three was used collectively and under general orders of large bodies of men in battle. In the first battle of Moitura, there is no mention of slings, bows and arrows, or battle axes. In Irish military literature, swords and spears are the arms mentioned in as in most general use, not only by individuals but by armies. Arrowhead of bronze. Interesting, says Tom King on Gowa. I wonder what we'll see next. Now, come here. If you make an arrow with an arrowhead of bronze, Tom, I'm just saying, don't start making a bow to go with it, because I mean, that thing could take someone's eye out. You know what I mean? That would be quite a lethal weapon. Certainly make the arrow, but please don't make the bow, or certainly don't let anybody have both of them at the same time. Yes. Beth, may you be blessed with an interview by the Irish Times. Ah, thank you, Beth. Are you talking about me or someone else? Fascinating. The Irish Times. I'd be made then, wouldn't I? I have a bone to pick with Stokes. He and Binchy don't bother to translate every day, and Stokes takes a lot of liberties to make things sound better in English. Well, I think we've mentioned that, haven't we, before a few times, that you really have to have the Dictionary of the Irish Language, the electronic Dictionary of the Irish Language open, and be ready constantly to search up alternative meanings of some names, Paul Goran is in the house. I didn't even know you were here, Paul. Good evening to you. I hope you're in good form. Long time no talk. To the Batcave, Batman, says Tom. He's away off to design a bronze arrowhead. It could also provide for Tom's burgers. Imagine Tom serving a pile of burgers with an arrow, with a bronze arrow tip on it through them. Wouldn't that be fun? Beth, shucks. What would they interview me about, do you think? I think it'd be probably ancient Ireland, mythology, archaeology, and all of that stuff, and a bit of astronomy maybe as well. The mace is next. Tom King, are you listening? Don't go to the Batcave just yet. Hang on, there's more ideas. Paul Goran, hello, Anthony. Is it yourself? Well, yes, it is, believe it or not, even though my accent has suddenly changed quite a lot. Good evening to you. Available for purchase on the Mythical Ireland page. You mean the mace or the arrowhead? Yeah. Could you imagine that getting through customs? Yeah. Sir, there appears to be a weapon in your baggage. Don't worry, it's only a Bronze Age arrowhead made by Tom King. And so it's not really Bronze Age, but I'll just pretend it is, Or you could wrap it up and say that it is actually a genuine historical or prehistoric artifact. Could you imagine explaining all that, Yeah. So the thing is, when you get your bronze arrowhead from Tom, don't try to take it through on hand luggage, especially in the airport. The club or mace, known by two names, Mathon and Lorug, although pretty often mentioned, does not appear to have been very generally used. Each of the thrice 50 attendants of the Hospitaller da Derga held in his hand a great club of blackthorn with a band of iron. And that's from Brian da Derga, which we read over 4 quite funny and enjoyable episodes. That was back in 2020, wasn't it? There's an interesting footnote here, right? So, Da Derga's hostel, Da Derga had in his hand a great club of blackthorn, which is a bush, a type of wood, with a band of iron. Now, the footnote says, more than 18 centuries later, that is to say, towards the middle of the last century, and he's talking about the 1800s or the 19th century, I often saw the men of the rival factions, quote, 3-year-old, unquote, and, quote, 4-year-old, unquote, fighting at the, quote, big fair in Kildare, unquote, County Cork, with precisely the same kind of weapons. Heavy sticks, blackthorn or oak or ash, with iron or lead ferrules on the end. Wow. This is a bit more than your shillelagh. This is like, wooden sticks with lead ferrules. F-E-R-R-U-L-E-S. What does ferrule mean? I'm going to have to look it up because I don't know. I presume some sort of spike, is it? A ferrule, a corruption of Latin viriola, small bracelet, under the influence of ferrum, iron, is any of a number of types of objects generally used for fastening, joining, sealing, or reinforcement. Okay, wow. Fascinating stuff. Supporting collar, says Tom. Who needs Google when we have Tom King on our team? Do you know what I mean? Yes. We laughed a lot during those episodes, says Desiree. I remember. Not difficult, that. Where was I? In the tales, a giant or an unusually strong and mighty champion is sometimes represented as armed with a mace. The giant encountered in the meadow by the 3 great red branch knights in the story of the Feast of Brickroo wielded a maton like the mull, M-O-L, or shaft of a mill wheel. There can be no doubt that the mace was used, for in the National Museum in Dublin there are several specimens of bronze mace heads with projecting spikes. One of them is here represented, which, fixed firmly on the top of the strong lurg or handle and wielded by a powerful arm, must have been a formidable weapon. Damn straight, you know. I wouldn't be inclined to argue with somebody holding one of those. To be honest, I'd be inclined to tippy toe and step to the side and say, "How are you doing? Good luck. I'm out of here." Sue says that ferrule today is a rubber piece which goes on the end of a walking stick. So says this retired physiotherapist. Haha, different meanings, of course. Brilliant. Tom says, I have my mace beside me in a rather non threatening manner because Tom isn't threatening at all. He's a very, very nice, friendly giant. That's what he is. Spear. The Irish battle spears were used both for thrusting and for casting. So, in other words, a spear that you thrust, you held on to, and a spear that you cast was one that you let go of, like a javelin. They were of various. Was that kind of mansplaining a bit? Was it? Sorry for that. They were of various shapes and sizes, but all consisted of a bronze or iron head fixed on a wooden handle by means of a hollow crow or socket, into which the end of the handle was thrust and kept in place by rivets. Tom King made a very nice spear, which he's been carrying around with him lately, in a very non-threatening manner, because Tom is not a very threatening sort of person. The best thesis defense is a good offense. Yeah, bring your spear and mace with you to that. The manufacture of spearheads was carried to great perfection at a very early age, long before the Christian era, and many of those preserved in museums are extremely graceful and beautiful in design and perfect in finish, evidently the work of trained and highly skilled artists. The iron spears were hammered into shape, Those of bronze were cast in moulds, and several specimens of these moulds may be seen in the museum. Both bronze and iron spearheads are mentioned in our oldest literature. In the story of the Táin, in the Book of the Dun Cow, it is related that Cuchulainn came to a certain ford with his eclechine, or spear, with which he had slain many of Queen Maeve's best champions, whereupon she sent her poet to ask him for the spear, knowing that he dared not refuse a poet. Cuchulainn gave him the spear, but being infuriated, instead of handing it to him, he flung it towards him with such force that it pierced his skull. Can I have your spear? Yes, of course, Mr. Poet. You can have my spear. Here you go. Could you imagine being a Shanachie reading all this stuff, or not reading, reciting all this stuff, telling the old stories, and yes, he said, you certainly can have my spear. Here you go, you fecker. Yeah, or as Marcus puts it, take it, it's yours. Brilliant. And with the force of the blow, the umma, i.e., the bronze of the Clechinir, broke off and fell into the stream, which from that was called Uman Thru, i.e., the bronze stream. In the same old book, Caillte relates how he slew King Yochi Aragthek with a cast of a spear which, quote, went through him and into the earth beyond him, and left its iron head in the earth. And this here is the shaft, and the iron earned will be found in the earth, unquote. In Cormac's glossary, the word dickeltire is explained as, quote, the shaft of a gai, G-A-I, or spear without the iron head on it, unquote. Wow. Nora Gaffney, the funniest comment of the evening so far. He literally let him have it. Yes. Yeah. Will you let me have your spear? Yes, I will let you have it. It's highly likely that Cuchulainn didn't actually throw it in anger, but he's just so strong that he would need to nearly just kind of just hand it standing upright and go, here you go, Lily Shambles is in the house. Finally managed to get here. Hope all are well. Apologies for last week. I came, I saw, I fell asleep. Woke up many hours later to be told you had won watching a blank screen. I can't believe that you could possibly fall asleep during an episode of Live Irish Myths. How dare you even suggest it's possible? Lily, it's good to see you. One bullet, bang, bang, says Tom. Lol, Nora. Yes. Brilliant. In the National Museum in Dublin, there is a collection of several hundred spearheads of all shapes and sizes. The greater number in bronze, but some of iron and some of copper. And every other museum in the country has its own collection. They vary in length from 36 inches down. Wait. The head of a spear? There's a measuring tape. I can't even fit it on the screen, right? That is the maximum length of a spearhead. I mean, would you even bother having a shaft on that? Like, that's 3 feet long, for God's sake. Is that right? That can't be. I'm going to read that again. They vary in length. Sorry, okay, I'll read the whole thing again. In the National Museum in Dublin, there is a collection of several hundred spearheads of all shapes and sizes. The greater number of bronze, but some of iron and some of copper. And every other museum in the country has its own collection. They vary in length from 36 inches down. Wow. I wonder, are there any pictures of that? I have a book about collection, some of the things that are in the National Museum. Might look at that at the end. Some of the Irish names for spearheads designated special shapes, while others were applied to spears of whatever shape or size. Mavanway! Sounds like some serious spear chat. I forgot what day of the week it is. I forget what day of the week it is sometimes. That's okay. Mavanway, you're very welcome. It's good to see you. Yes, please look this up. Crazy scary, says Donna. If anybody wants to look at the Irish National Museum website and see if there is an example that you can share a link that we can have a look at, please do. Sounds like the beginning life of a sword, says Helena. Yeah, I know. Marcus says giants were real. These men must have been massive, I wander through the museum once a week and I've never seen one that big, says Caitlin. Yeah, that sounds unlikely, doesn't it? 3 feet long, the spearhead. The words gay, G-A-E, ga or guy, G-A or G-A-I, Foga or Foga, F-A-G-A or F-O-G-A, F-O-G-A, and Sleg, S-L-E-G, now written Schley, S-L-E-A-G-H, were sometimes used as terms for a spear or javelin in general, though more commonly they were specialized. The last in the diminutive form slion, or pronounced slawn, is used at present in Ireland as an English word to denote a sort of sharp, slender spade for cutting peat or turf. O'Curry always translates sleg or slay a light spear, foga a short spear, and gay a heavy spear, or guy, gay or guy. The guy was probably the jaculum or dart mentioned by Giraldus in the passage where he says that the Irish had in his time 3 sorts of weapons: a battle axe, a short lance, and 2 darts. Jacula. Don't. Don't go there. Don't. Among the spears of the fir bullocks was one called Fearlan, Fiorlann, meaning curved blade, of which many specimens are to be seen in the National Museum. Perhaps the Fearlan was rather a short sword than a spear, in which case it would answer to the curved sword, Clive Crum, so often mentioned in the Book of Rites. At any rate, there is only one type of curved blade preserved in the museum, of which 2 specimens are figured here. Currently reviewing my photos of the National Museum to check out the spear, says Mavanway. Brilliant stuff. The heads of those spears, designated by the terms manish and lion, were broad, flat, and sharp pointed, for we find them constantly described in the tales by the epithet lehan glas, i.e., broad and grey green. O'Curry calls the manish a trowel spear, for this word manish is one of the names of a trowel. The dullen must have been something like of a like shape, for its name means like a tree leaf or leaf shaped. There are numerous spearheads in the National Museum answering these descriptive indications. Lion is a diminutive form of the root lie, Laigh, and this root word is still represented in the modern Anglo-Irish word loy, Loy, which is applied to a spade in some parts of Ireland. In the ancient Irish battle tales, a sharp distinction is made between the spears of the Firvolugs and of the Daedanans, respectively, to which O'Curry first drew attention. The Firvolug spears are sometimes called manish and sometimes crasach or creasach, and the crasach is described as broad and thick. Sorry, just taking a note here. With the top rounded and sharp edged, and having a cran remor, i.e., a thick cran or handle, a description that applies generally also to the manish. The spear used by the Daedanans was very different, being long, narrow, and graceful with a sharp point. Whether these 2 colonies are fictitious or not, a large number of spearheads in the museum answer to these descriptions. So we remember at the very outset of our first reading in the first episode, Joyce, I keep calling him Weston, it's Patrick Weston Joyce, P.W. Joyce, he did say that what we're going to do here is have a look at the myths and legends and fable traditions and have a look at the archaeological artifacts and see if one answers to the other. And here he's just doing exactly that. He's looking at the legends and going, well, is there anything that answers to that description in reality? And yes, indeed, there is. Other terms for a spear less usual than the preceding are astol, A-S-T-O-L, which in Cormac's glossary is derived from Latin hastula, a little spear. Aige, and that's A-I-G-E, Rinkne, R-A-N-C-N-E, and Murend, M-U-I-R-E-N-D, derived by Cormac from me rend, M-I-R-I-N-D, so me rend, i.e. Drekrind, evil point, a point which causes death. Yes, indeed, Marcus, true. So also car, C-A-R-R, which is defined as a guy or a spear in Cormac. That Keltar, plural Keltra, was applied to a spear may be seen from this glossary under the word gara, G-A-I-R-E, where Keltra kaha, spears of battle, is defined gae, G-A-E, or spears, from which again the glossary derives a dickeltar, a shaft or handle of a spear without the iron thereon, or without a weapon. In a poem on a Cochorb in L.L., is that the Book of Leinster? I should look up the abbreviations at the beginning of the book, shouldn't I? Because that will tell us. L.L. is probably the Book of Leinster. Lower. No, that's New Honville, isn't it? But it is probably still Leinster because it's LL. Let me just see list of illustrations. No, doesn't. Apologies. Don't know where that is. Where I might find that. What is LL? Caitlin, please help us. Capital L, capital L. What is that? Is that the Book of Leinster or what? In a poem on Cochorb in LL, it is said that he fed many wolves with his burr, B-I-R, and the Dalcassians in the Battle of Clontarf had great sharp-pointed burrs or lances. And this word is very important to me because remember the sprig of holly that was thrown at Midger when he went to break up the fight at Brunabonia in the henges, in the playing fields among the boys? And Stokes, I think, was it Stokes? No. Yes, Stokes. No. I think it might have been Stokes. Well, I've written about this anyway, that he had translated it as a sprig of holly, but in fact, burr was the word used. So, like, basically a spear with probably a shaft made out of hollywood. Another word for spear was knarsech, C-N-A-I-R-R-S-E-C-H, which O'Daveron defines as a diminutive of knar, C-N-A-R-R, spear. Kletchine has been already quoted as a name for Cuchulain's javelin. The word gaul and its derivative gaulach were applied to a javelin of some kind. One of the noises heard in the din of the second battle of Moitura was the sound and winging of the darts and gaulachs or javelins. Just going to see how far this section. Oh, still quite a lot about weapons to go. So yeah, we'll be finishing shortly and picking up on this theme again next week. LL is the Book of Leinster, if I'm not wrong, says Caitlin. Yes, I think it is, yeah. This word is met with in other forms as applied to a spear, such as fuga, fo, gauli, which often occurs. Gaul means a fork, and gaul or gaulach apparently means a forked spear, while fuga, fo, gauli is a fuga or spear with a fork, a forked fuga. Jesus. Oh, that's really straightforward, isn't it? Totally easy to understand. That the old Irish writers understood the word in this sense is proved by a fanciful description of a spear in the Agalav, that's Agalav nas Shonurach, the colloquy of the ancients, in which we are told that the Fuga Fogauli was so called because on either side of it were 5 forks or prongs, kuik gaula, each having sharp, sickle-shaped barbs on both its edges. Spears. LL is definitely the Book of Leinster. I checked. Thank you, Caitlin. Yes, indeed. Thank you for confirming our suspicions. Spears with points, rin, a point, are often also mentioned in the Táin and other old tales, apparently meaning barbed spears. 5 being the usual number of points. The term for this sort of spear, oftenest used, being sleg coicrin, a sleg or spear of 5 points. Fascinating stuff. An incidental reference in the story of Fingal Ronan in the Book of Leinster. Why does he call it the Book of Leinster here and LL earlier? It's a strange one. Would seem to show that some such spears were used. Édon plunged a spear into Mile Foharty so that he put its points through him. The Foga Fogauli and the Schleg Coecrin were different, for we find them plainly distinguished in a passage in the Táin, where a tall warrior is described as coming towards Cuchulainn, having in his hand 2 spears, one a Schleg Coecrin and the other a Foga Fogauli. There you go. But though there are hundreds of spearheads in the National Museum, not one of them is either 5-pointed, forked, or barbed. Whereas if such spears were common in old times, some specimens would certainly have been found, as is the case of all the other spears. Is that an assumption that he's reaching there? You know? Sullivan, at page 447 of his introduction to O'Curry's lectures, gives figures of 2 forked spears, one with 3 points, the other with 8, which he considers specimens of the forked battle spears of the tales. But these are 2 out of a collection of what are obviously fishing spears now in the National Museum. Just going to see how long the spears section goes on. God. Where are we on? Yeah, I think we're kind of at finishing time, really, aren't we? We're translating Fingal Ronan in class at the moment. LL is an abbreviation, so I think you need to use the full title the first time in a new paragraph. Yeah. Not sure, I guess. Not an easy read, says Nora. No, it's a little bit. It's full of, but it's still interesting. You know, I'm just. I mean, I wouldn't be a great Irish scholar, but the Middle Irish, even more so. You're always sort of half guessing what the actual pronunciation is. He does help in some cases by giving you the pronunciation, the phonetic English pronunciation in brackets, but not often enough for my liking. I feel a spearmint moment to come and give a sharp jaunt to the head. Michael. Yes, could have been a modified weapon, never considered for mass production, says Irish Technical Thinker. We haven't obviously found. We haven't obviously found the 3-foot long spearhead in the National Museum website. I didn't think we would, to be honest, but be interesting. You know, have we actually? Is there one described anywhere? Yeah, and I don't have much expertise on Bronze Age weapons. I will be perfectly honest with you. The late George Ogan specialised in Bronze Age objects. Nobody actually knows, and I learned how to read Middle Irish from a German. Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? Hugadern, maybe we should do 30 more minutes. Well, do you want me to keep going till the end of the spears section? It's another 2 pages. It would possibly take another 5 or 10 minutes. Do you want me to do that? Is everybody still up for that, or is everybody... Agree, Anthony keeps it interesting. Do you think so? Well, that probably explains why you all still keep coming back. No, you're coming back for the jokes. I know you're coming back for the jokes, aren't you? Yeah, you are. No, you're definitely not coming back for the jokes. Yep. Read more. Go for it. Carry on. Yeah, too right. I'm up. Yes, 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 please. Okay. There seems to be a consensus. They have various numbers of points, up to 15, generally ranged in a straight row across. He's referring to what he thinks are fishing spears. They're all of iron and of rude workmanship. Any good blacksmith of the present day would make one equal to the best of them. And Tom King would look at it and go, oh, that's not very good. Here, I'll make a better one. They do not show a trace of artistic taste or finish, such as we find in perfection in the bronze spearheads. They all seem comparatively modern, and what is more to the point, they are small, light, flimsy things that will go to pieces in 5 minutes fighting. One of the two given by Sullivan is represented here so that the reader can judge for himself. It is 5 inches broad at the points, and the prongs are 1 3/4 inches long. The socket is 2.5 inches long, and just large enough to receive a slight wooden handle, 1/2 inch thick. Derek Hollingsworth, bonus couple nomage, a bonus couple of minutes. Yes, indeed. Hand pink waving. I suspect the emoji didn't get translated. Anyway, yeah. That's great. Get to the point of the spear section. Brilliant. Caitlin and I share something in common. We both absolutely love puns. Yes. I mean, I know you all do, but I share puns and jokes on Facebook, and Caitlin comments on them, you know. Speaking of which, I am in the process of collecting highlighters. I'm going to collect thousands of them. Mark my words. He didn't go there. Yes, he did. Perhaps gowl or gowlock in its application to a spear does not mean forked. And this seems to be Stokes's opinion when proposing a derivation of the words. But this does not touch the difficulty of coecrin, whose meaning seems beyond doubt. The whole question is obscure, and for the present it must be left unsettled, at least by me. Spearheads had a crow or socket in which the handle was generally fastened by rivets. The shaft or handle had generally a ferrule or ring of horn, Irk, pronounced EY-ARK, on its upper end to keep it from splitting. In the Brehon Law, we read of a knarshek, or spear measuring 12 fists, quote, between its iron head and the place where the horn is put upon its end, unquote, which entry also shows the length of the handle as between 5 and 6 feet. There you go. Badum. Brendan says it was going so well. Did I tell you I had a terrifying experience in the house the other night? I was all alone having a bath when all of a sudden I felt a tap on my shoulder. The Irish casting spear was usually furnished with a loop of string called sunyev attached to the handle near the middle and made of silk or flax. The Greeks and Romans had a loop of a similar kind on their spears called amentum by the Latins, but how exactly the loop was used by Greeks, Romans, or Irish, or what its effect was, is a matter of conjecture. We only know that, like the Roman soldier, the Irish warrior put his forefinger in the loop in the act of casting. Such entries in the following are constantly found in the tales. In the Battle of Moyrath, page 285, Cona, quote, pressing his foot on the solid earth to balance himself and take good aim, put his finger in the string of his broad-headed spear and made a cast at Congal. Coilche, quote, put his valorous forefinger into the thong of the spear, unquote. The use of poison on spears and arrows was known to the ancient Irish, for we find individual poisoned weapons, especially spears, often mentioned in the tales. That bathtub joke is all washed up, says Caitlin. He's unstoppable, lol. 2 cables walk into a pub and they're told to get out because they'll start something. Yeah. Bono and the Edge walked into a pub, and the barman said, "Not you two again." Sorry. The use of yes, but poisoned weapons formed no part of the Irish military system, and they were not used in battle. Some of the spears of the heroes of the Red Branch and other mythical champions are described in the legends as terrible and mysterious weapons. The spear of Keltar of the battles, which was called Loan, L-O-N, or Luin, L-U-I-N, twisted and writhed in the hand of the warrior who bore it, striving to make for the victim whose blood was ready for spilling. I'm looking for another one. Bear with me in one moment. Oh yeah, speaking of weapons, never try blindfold archery. You don't know what you're missing. Did I tell that one last week? I can't remember. This, according to the legend, was originally the spear of a Daedanan chief, which he left on the battlefield of Moitura, where it was picked up and ultimately reached Keltar. Some spears were regularly seized with a rage for massacre, and then the bronze head grew red hot. This is like something from Lord of the Rings, so that it had to be kept near a cauldron of cold water, or more commonly of black poisonous liquid, into which it was plunged whenever it blazed up with the murder fit. This reminds us of Homer's description of the spear of Achilles, which, when the infuriated hero flung it at Lycaon, 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 missed the intended victim and, plunging into the earth, quote, stood in the ground, hungering for the flesh of men, unquote. Bathtub jokes and spears. We better duck. Bath duck. Oh, I get it. This is where I get all my jokes, confesses Rex Fortenberry. Kate the Moon. Yes, matey. So, why don't we quickly, do you want to have a look at the pictures in the calendar? I'll show them to you if you like. Do you want to do that for a few moments? I can show you the 13 photographs which have been chosen for the calendar. You may have seen them in that little graphic advertising the calendar on social media, but you'll only have seen small thumbnails. I might show you the actual images. How do I do this now? How do I do this? And they won't be in order. Why? Because they're ordered. Yeah, I see April, then August, then anyway. That doesn't matter, does it? Thanks for putting PayPal top of the list for calendar. I don't have that, so hopefully Son will buy it for me. Yeah, we can use card as well. The website allows the use of any Visa or MasterCard. There's different ways to pay. It's not just PayPal. Rex pre-ordered his yesterday. Brilliant stuff. Let me just quickly see how I'm going to open this, display this, should I say. Okay, let's have a look. Right, I have to share that screen. Share screen. August screen Ella. Window. Photos. Share. And then I have to actually... So are you ready for this? Let's just have a quick look. These won't be in order, but I'll tell you which month is which. And, shh, no, don't tell Son. Sheila Gunn says, I'm late. Yeah, but that's okay. No Brown Zone. And, of course, as soon as we're finished, you'll be able to watch from the start. I'm still using my calendar from 2018, and no wonder my days are all mixed up. Well, Marcus, wait till I tell you what happened to me. Somebody ripped the month of May out of my calendar. I'm dismayed. And so this is April's image. And this was taken in April of this year. And it shows the beautifully parting clouds above Sheed and Broga, or Newgrange, on the night of a fairly spectacular display of the Aurora Borealis, or Northern Lights, which almost everybody missed because it was completely overcast all over Ireland. And I just got lucky at Newgrange, which was great. Somebody stop him, says Mavanway. The next one is August, which is an aerial photo of Mound B, which is, of course, the Dagdas Mound, the largest of all the satellite mounds of Brunabonia, the fourth biggest ostensibly. And the reason I say ostensibly is because it's about 40 metres in diameter. But of course, the passage tomb under Douth Hall, which was bought a few days ago by the state to be turned into a national park, the passage tomb under the house there that was built in the 1760s is also about 40 metres in diameter. So, yes, this was, until the revelation of that, certainly the largest. And this is the River Boyne here on a misty morning. Mound B, the Dagdas Mound. This is the cover of the calendar, which shows the Baltray, one of the Baltray standing stones. There are two, and it's winter solstice alignment. This photo taken, I think, on Christmas Eve last year, on a beautiful morning as the sun rose up above Rockabill Islands, off out to sea. So that'll be the front cover. This is December's image, which shows Sheed and Broga or Newgrange from the top down. I hope you like that. And we have for February a photo taken in February of this year showing a rare triple conjunction of top is Jupiter, middle is the crescent moon, of course, with Earth shine, and lower right is Venus, the evening star. Very rare to see because Jupiter and Venus are very bright, and the moon. So what we're seeing there are the second, third, and fourth brightest objects in the night sky, all together in the same place. And so you'll notice that because it's probably an 8-second or 15-second exposure, that you can actually see the dark part of the moon, the Earth shine. Yeah, I like that photo. January's photo is of Cairns T and U at Loughcrew on a snowy day. And you may notice that there is a halo around the sun, or part of a sun halo, at least. It looks a little bit like a rainbow as the sun set over Cairn T. A photo that I took a while back. This is for July, and this one was taken not too long ago on my way back to the Boyne Valley from Sligo. I saw that the sun was going down, and I stopped at the Gaelic chieftain statue, which is just inside the County Roscommon, very close to Sligo, overlooking the N4 road, and commemorating the Battle of Curlew Pass, which I believe was the end of the 16th century. This is June's photo, which shows Cairn F at Carrowkeel, which is situated in a very dramatic landscape. You can see here that it's just about, I don't know what that is, that's maybe 20 or 30 feet from the edge of this cliff face that falls away down into the valley below. The U-shaped valley is a U-shaped valley cutting its way through the Brickleave Mountains. A fabulous landscape, an amazing place, you know. Where now the horse and the rider? Where is the horn that was blowing? Yes. Marcus is quoting Lord of the Rings. Thank you, Caitlin. Glad you're enjoying the photos. Is that quartz making it white? No, it's limestone. Believe it or not, it's all local limestone. It does look fairly bright, all right. March's photo is a picture that I took of the Hag's Chair, which is the singularly most extraordinary of the Irish curbstones of any passage tomb in Ireland. Sliabh na Caille, and its flat top that makes it look like a chair, and it faces to the north. And if you look carefully, well, anything that you can read, TKEO, etc., that's modern graffiti, modern era graffiti. But there is megalithic art here. There are some cup and ring marks for concentric circles. There are some more arcs down here, and there are lots of individual pick marks, which we believe are megalithic art. A photo taken with remote lighting, painting with light at dusk. So great atmospheric photos indeed, says Michael Trott. Now more tempted to buy. Don't spare us. Fantastic images. Brilliant. They are amazing, says Lily Shambles. Thank you all. I'm glad that I like them. Fantastic job with the photos, says Elaine. Is there one more? May's photo is Isle na Mirren, the Stone of Divisions at Ishnach. And So the way this was lit, just to tell you, of course, this is dusk, and if you know your constellations, you'll know that this is Auriga. That's Capella in Auriga, the charioteer. This photo taken at the Altona. Somebody had placed a candle on an inner part of the stone. So this is a slightly long exposure, probably several seconds. And I lit it from off here with a burst of flash, off-camera flash. And so we get this lovely combination of flashed and candlelit, which gives us this. It looks like the stone is aglow. It looks like it has a warm heart, which many visitors to Uisneach would say it has, November's photo is the Mill Mount in Drogheda, and of course that Martello Tower built by the British in 1808, because this was a military fort, on top of a mound, which is believed in folklore to be the burial place not only of Amergin, the Milesian bard, but in fact the wife of the Gubon, the smith, the wife of the Tua de Danann Smith. So to me, that mythology or that folklore would suggest that it's a very, very ancient, a prehistoric burial mound. October's image is a photo of the partial solar eclipse that took place this year, taken here in the Boyne Valley, with a chunk bitten out of the sun by the moon. And of course, eclipses, a big theme in my own work. And if you've read Island of the Setting Sun in particular, and the Mythical Ireland book, you'll know why. And of course, September's image is this I think this is the image I described as the one that took me 20 years to capture. I had made several attempts to capture the full moon setting directly behind Newgrange over the years. But this was just the perfect capture, in that the moon was still quite visible. Some of the pictures I got, the moon was faded because the sun had come up and it was hard to see, or it was in the wrong position. It was way over to the left, this one, I think, capturing it very well. When I shared this photo at the time on the social media, it went viral. It got thousands and thousands of likes and follows. And that marks the end of our exploration of the images of the calendar. And so just to say, if you want to order it on the Mythical Ireland website. That's mythicalireland.com. I will give you the very specific link, which you could just click on to bring you directly to the order page there. And I've also just been told that if you're ordering on the website, Shopify, which is so Mythical Ireland, is the website which was relaunched last year. By the way, on the 30th of September last year, so a few days ago last year, Shopify says that they're excited to announce that your checkout has now been updated to a new one-page design. It's now shorter, faster, and more intuitive for your buyers. In other words, it's easier for you to get there once you select a product and once you want to buy something. So yeah, there you go. If you haven't already done so, get your orders in now. As soon as the calendar is printed, I'm hoping to send it to print within a week. And I'm told that the turnaround would be about 4 or 5 days. So as soon as they arrive here, myself and Anne, my good wife, will be packaging them up and sending them off around the world. Anyway, thanks for joining us tonight. Hope you all enjoyed yourselves. Connie, is that Connie Reader, says, wow, thank you indeed. Maureen Joyce, thank you indeed also. Wayne Bird, who's enjoying, by the way, the Wayne more so than anyone else seems to be enjoying the draft typescript of my Return to Segish Companion, a book which I'm currently writing and sharing with patrons at the Bronze Age level and above over at patreon.com. The address is scrolling along the bottom. Lots of stuff being shared with patrons now that I'm working full-time at Mythical Ireland. A lot more stuff being shared there. So don't forget, if you want access to all of that, become a patron. Wayne certainly enjoying it. Anyway, thank you for joining us this evening, folks. Great to have you all along. Lovely to see some new faces. Lovely to see some people who we haven't seen in a while. Hope you're all in good form. Thanks, Adrian. And yeah, don't forget to come back next week. We are live streaming every Monday at 8 p.m. Irish time. That's 3 p.m. Eastern and 12 noon Pacific. And of course, there's lots of stuff going on the social media between live streams, daily posts of various kinds. We're all very excited about the new National Park of Ireland, which will be established here in Brunabonia at Douth Hall. 550 acres purchased by the state the other day. Only the second national park on the east side of Ireland, the other 5 being in the west. So we will join the likes of Connemara National Park and the Wicklow Mountains National Park and the national parks in Kerry and Donegal, etc., which will be fabulous. Brilliant stuff. Anyway, have a great week, everybody. And thank you for joining us. And we'll see you before too long, hopefully. In the meantime, all that remains for me to say at this moment is Ichawa Kolosov, Slán go fóil, and most importantly, Tog go bogé. Take it easy. We'll see you very soon. Bye bye.